guys, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world, or good afternoon if you're in Europe. Today I decided to go live really last minute, and a few reasons. First, initially I actually did want to go cycling out today, but it's so cold. And so one of the first things that popped in my mind is, oh, if it's so cold, what's the best soup for today? And so right away, didn't even go bike riding, turned around, put my bike back, and went to the supermarket. And so one of the best soups, and it's actually a sweet soup, so you could say it's almost like a dessert, but one of the best soups for colder weather, especially when it's really cooling and your body's not even ready for 10 degrees this morning, is what I'm making today is a yam or sweet potato sweet soup. And so it's super, super easy. It's very basic. You can get this done in about 30 minutes. And the key ingredients are, I'm going to talk about how to mix and match. And so the first thing really is to consider, all right, the weather, right? And so I'm making this soup. The soup design principle is going to be a warming soup, right? So you start with that premise. And so just consider all the herbs, all the natural herbs that you can think about that are in the warming category. And so sweet potato is going to be, or the yam actually, is going to be the base ingredient. And so the greatest thing about warming soups are ginger. And so I have some ginger here, and I'm going to show you how to prep this. It's pretty quick actually. So just a fresh piece of ginger here. Let me take out a piece that's kind of been half used. All right, so, and not great looking. Hold on. My butcher's knife. All right, so what you'll do want is a piece of ginger for this, and yam or sweet potato. This is the base ingredient actually. And then when you think about it being warm, you can add other things. And so what I'm making today is a very simple yam, well, sweet potato soup kind of. And in Cantonese, oh my God, it's lost me now. Oh. Anyway, it's gonna come back to me. And so it's a sweet potato yam with ginger, and you can add other ingredients. So some things to think about that you can add that it's warming, because it's a warm soup, is dried melons or dried dragon eyes. I will show you what they look like. Dried red dates are also a really great addition, so that's your choice as well. And the other one I do like is the dried tangerine peel, which is a little bit bitter sometimes, but you can add just a little bit. The other really great ingredient to add to this, so your base is really going to be these two things. That's your soup base. And there's no meat in this, so it's vegetarian essentially. And what I am adding today is fresh Chinese yams. For people who haven't seen this before, this is actually just a really long root. It's called Chinese/Japanese yam, and it's quite unique. This has already been peeled, but if you buy it fresh, it's actually brown and super slimy, right? And so what happens is that it's so slimy that you should wear gloves, because there's like kind of a slime on it that makes your fingers itchy. And so if you're doing Chinese yam, make sure you're wearing gloves or protected. So what we're gonna do first is prepare the yam. Actually, no, I'm gonna boil my soup. And so because I'm doing it in a small portion today, this yam of this size can do a dessert soup for about like 4 people, 1 bowl each. And that's enough for me today. We don't want that much leftovers. And then the ginger. So I'm gonna show you a quick way to prepare ginger. All right, so I've got this type of pot. And I know when I do soups, people ask about like what type of pot I'm using, because I'm doing a really quick boil. So quick boil soups tend to be about 30 minutes. Some principles of quick boil soup. So in Cantonese, it's really called like guan as in like you're bubbling it really quickly, is that all the pieces of your ingredients are tiny. So they're a lot smaller and they cook quicker. That's one of the premises of quick boil soups. So for today, I'm just going to use this ceramic pot. I like to cook in ceramic or glass more than steel or metal. However, there are benefits in cooking in like a steel pot sometimes, especially the thermal pot. The reason why the Chinese do like ceramic pots, glass pots, because it's from traditional Chinese medicine. The herbs don't react with the metal. And so that's one of the big reasons why I do cook with ceramic, especially if there's a lot more herbs. So that's just a little tip for you to start. I have about 5 cups of water here, so I'm gonna start boiling that. There we go. I might add more water, let's see. All right. And then potatoes, fresh ginger, Chinese yam. So that's what I'm adding today, but you can actually consider a bunch of other choices for yourself as well. All right, so And I find it really weird all the time that when people go live, and I go live just to demo how it's made, but I find it strange that you know, people actually do watch other people peel, right? So watch me. So this has been washed. So I'm just gonna peel it. This is a yam, and so it's the purple grade. This is traditionally what's used in the sweet potato yam dessert soups, the orange ones or the white ones. Very rarely do we use the purple yams in this type of dessert. You can save that because that's actually really, really sweet. So, oh, the other ingredient I forgot to tell you is rock sugar. So what's your sweetener? That's what you need to think about. So in Chinese cooking, we often don't use, well, especially soups, a lot of the sweeteners are either rock sugar or brown sugar. It's very rarely that we're using like white sugar directly into the soup or honey. And honey actually breaks down over, I think, 60 degrees or even hotter than that. And so the idea is that you shouldn't be adding honey to anything boiling anyways, because it really breaks down the honey. All right, so this is the yam that I'll be using in my sweet soup today. And again, how perfect you want to peel it's completely up to you. I mean, it depends how discerning your eaters are, right? And like, yeah, small children tend to pick at all the little things inside. Another tip I'm going to show you, I'm going to go to the freezer to get something. Let me show you what I'm doing as well here. Is another trick in making soups or cooking in general is that I actually save the scraps. And so I've already started a scrap bag here, which has carrots, like the onion tops, carrot skins, and some of the onions, like the onion pieces. And so anytime I want to make other soups, what I will do is actually save all my scraps like this and just keep it in the freezer. So when I am doing like a vegetable soup or vegetable broth, I will put this in a soup bag and use it in the soup as well, which is a great way to actually reuse, recycle, and conserve. And there's so many flavors in this, like onions, green onions, actually have a lot of flavor for soups. So this is a great idea for people who want to conserve, preserve, and use scraps for their cooking. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. And this goes back into the freezer, and I will use it for soups on another day. All right, so for those joining, I'm making like a sweet potato yam Chinese soup. It's vegetarian, it's sweet, so it's really for dessert actually. And the reason you would make a soup like this is because it's cold. And so typically in Hong Kong and China, we have this soup when it's colder. It's actually very nice. It's a dessert really at the very end. All right, so I said I'm saving the ends as well into my little bag here. All right, so this is going into my freezer for another day where I am just gonna make like a vegetable broth or use this as like more flavor and base. And I will add it to my soup in a soup bag. So this is just me doing cooking in another way. All right, okay, let me cut this up first. Get a pot out. All right, so if we're doing quick boil soups, Chinese soups have a few categories of boiling time, right? And so if you're doing a quick boil soups for Chinese are small pieces, they boil quick, 30 minutes about, and you're done. Some Chinese soups are called long boil, so it's called guan, which is bubbling, guan tong, and those soups actually take a lot longer. If I'm doing a quick boil soup, FYI, you want pieces a bit smaller. So if I'm doing a long boil soup, this is about the size I will do for, like, let's say I'm gonna do this in pork bones. I will keep it this size just so that it doesn't completely disintegrate and melt. But because it's a quick boil, I'm cubing it. And we're talking like this size, right? So you'll see it's quite small. And this is great for dessert because the idea is that it fits in a spoon and you can eat it in one bite, right? And that's kind of some of the thinking when you're doing like soup and soup design. And I know some people are like, it's just soup. Well, in a way, I actually do want the people who's eating it to also enjoy it. All right, so let's finish the rest of this. And one yam this size is actually really good for serving 4 people at the very end. All right, so here, sorry, that's too much. sizes like this is about good. All right. I was telling people earlier, I was going to go for a ride today this morning, and when I stepped outside, I'm in Toronto, by the way. When I stepped outside today, it was 10 degrees. And I was like, nope, not going. I'm turning around. I turned my bike around, and this is why I decided to make this dessert soup like right now, because I'm feeling a bit cold, and the weather just turned quite cold suddenly. So this is a great soup, dessert, whatever you want to call it, for your family when the weather is cold. All right. All right, I typically do cut it like faster and harder, but all right, here we go. These pieces are getting a little bit big now. And so one yam is going to serve about 4 people. God, I'm trying to think of the name in Chinese now, and it really eludes me, which is crazy. I lived in Hong Kong for 18 years, right? And so one of the great things about living abroad is that I actually really immerse myself into the country, into the culture. Even though I was born in Toronto, but I am Chinese. And one of the great things about living in Hong Kong was that if you go shopping in the wet marts, that's the supermarket, and they're actually open supermarkets. The people are so nice. And I'll be curious, like ask, what is this ingredient? What is that ingredient? And they would be willing to tell me, like, oh, this is, and they'll say it in Chinese. All right. Almost there, almost there. So there's a lot of yam here. And what I'm making is a sweet soup for those joining. And there are sweet soups in the Chinese repertoire. It's not only savory soups, and equally have benefits, right? And so one of the things that I work with a lot is how food is part of like our well-being, and you can really balance like yin and yang. Hi, Kiana. I see you. What are you up to? All right, and I know it's early. I was like making soup right now, but it's a dessert, and honestly, I make my soups in the morning. A lot of my soups I make in the morning, and I actually leave it till it's cooking in a thermal pot, and then I drink it at lunch or dinner. All right. Almost there. All right, done. Perfect. Okay, so let me rinse this. All right, here's a trick for ginger preparation. And so for those who are just joining, I'm making like a sweet yam Chinese soup. It's essentially just yam cut up really small. And so this is even great for babies. The one thing to think about though is how much ginger you want to put in. Ginger is a spicy flavored ingredient, and it makes it warm. So what ginger does is actually it warms the middle burner, like this section here, our digestive system. It helps blood flow. It helps qi as well. And so when it's cold, and you'll feel it right away, some of the effects of this ingredient, and it is considered a pretty power herb from a Chinese perspective. When you drink it, especially more, like all of this is quite a lot, you'll feel your blood and your body just heat up. And some ingredients do that, especially in soups. And so the one thing I'm going to do with this is you can keep the skin on or skin off. It's completely up to you. One tip that I have shared before is for anyone preparing ginger, and if you don't want the skin, you can save the skin. That's boiling. Is to use a spoon like this, a really small spoon. And what you're going to do is just like, you could peel the ginger skin. It's flipping everywhere. Just like this, right? The leverage is not good, but just if you put on a block and just peel it like that, it comes right off. And you're actually saving more of the flesh and not wasting so much of the flesh, right? And so it just peels all around like this. With a spoon. And it kind of molds to the shape of the ginger. So a really small spoon is super useful if you want to get rid of the ginger skin, but it's completely up to you. Some people do have the skin as part of the soup. And what I do, so I've saved some already here, is I actually put my ginger skin on a piece of paper towel and I air dry it. And this is what I use for teas. Ginger skin is actually very warming as well. So it's warming, and I mix it with like roses. You guys are cute. I mix it with roses. So it's great in teas. And so that's something that you can do with your ginger skins. All right, I think, going to use all of this ginger. And again, so here's just another tip, is because my kids and we're not fans of eating the ginger, what you could do is just keep the whole thing large like this. What do you think of white tea? Do you have a name? What's the name of the tea specifically? Is it green, like peony tea? What's the leaf exactly? Because white is not very telling in terms of what the tea is. But if you could tell me the name of the tea, then I could elaborate a little bit more. Like, is it peony? Tends to be more clear as a tea type. So if you could tell me what the name is, then hopefully I can help you. All right, so I'm gonna probably cut this in half, maybe thirds, like this, okay? And the whole reason is so that two things. So today I'm making just Uncle White tea leaf. Oh, okay, I'll have to Google that. So today I'm making a sweet soup, yam sweet soup. I'm gonna add more water here, boiling. All right, I'm doing 10 cups today. Today I'm making a sweet yam soup, super basic. The basic recipe of this is basically just yams cut up in little bits and ginger and rock sugar. So essentially it's like 3 ingredients. However, you can get really creative. I'm gonna explain a little bit more of what you can add on top. So what I'm gonna do is drop this in first. Not yet, it's almost boiling. And that's how easy it is. This takes like 5 minutes to make, and then about 20 minutes to boil until everything is soft. And the smaller the pieces, the quicker the soup will cook. And so the reason why I'm making this today is because it's cold, okay? And I know some people might say 10 degrees is not that cold. I lived in Hong Kong for about 18 years. I'm not completely acclimatized to this type of weather, and I don't like it cold. And so I really felt like something warm, and this is really great on, this is great for the body. So does TCM have thoughts on miso? Miso is more a flavor enhancer. So just from a savory perspective, taste, right? If you're thinking miso is salty. Anything that's salty tends to be cool. So that's just a basic premise of how flavors and tastes show up from a TCM perspective. So miso in general is used, is more, I would say, is a little more cooling because of the salt content. And salt itself actually is a cooling ingredient. So it's cooler. Cooler, what does cooler mean? So cooler essentially means that it increases like your yin. And so there's yin and yang balance in our bodies. But miso is a great additive to soups. I tend not to use miso unless it's a quick boil for flavor. That's the only reason I would really do miso. And the Chinese, this is where it's a bit different from a cultural perspective. The Chinese don't always, we don't use miso at all. It's very Japanese. And so when you blend it in, it's more fusion. But just from that perspective, on the nature of miso, it's cooling. And this question was coming from TikTok. I will get back to your question about the tea. Loving red dates and ginger tea right now. Yes. Actually, what you could add also to red dates and ginger tea, try it if you can find it, dried longan or dried dragon eyes. And you can find this at an Asian supermarket. It's super common. So the ingredients I use aren't like pharmaceutical TCM medicine. I'm talking stuff you can actually buy at a supermarket. And so dried longans look like this. And so the fruit is a dragon eye. They're part of like the lychee family. Lychees are bigger, longans are smaller and brown. Add this as well, try it. They're equally warming. So red dates help calm the spirit, warm the body, improve circulation. Longans are very similar and they're sweet as well. But yeah, no, that's a great, and goji berries. That's the other thing you can try as well. Goji berries is another variant that you can think about on top of red dates and ginger. And so this is just to create more variety in terms of your tea selections. If you're loving like that ginger warm tea base. All right, I'm gonna drop this in right now because things are boiling, like here. It's super easy. Okay. There we go. And let that boil for a bit. And so that's really it. This is a really simple base sweet soup. And the Chinese do drink it as dessert, but you can drink it any time of the day. It's very warming, and so it's perfect for conditions where it's colder and your body's adjusting to a change in temperature, for example, like today. So the red dates you can consider adding. The dried longan you can add as well. The other ingredient is as a sweetener. Is there anything else in the soup? No, that's the base one. So add yams, ginger, and rock sugar is going to be your sweetener. And so just think of a sweetener. There's two choices actually, rock sugar or brown sugar. So the Chinese don't actually often use like white sugar or honey. And rock sugar is less processed, more natural in that state, and very lubricating. And so rock sugar, brown sugar are your choices of sweetener when you're doing Chinese cooking in general. And so they'll use white sugar in like stir fries and stuff, but in general, beyond that, rock sugar or brown sugar is your friend. I don't like cold weather either. You're from Brazil? Oh my God, yeah, same. I can't adjust to the weather in North America here, and I don't mind the humidity, right? And so raw sugar, it's actually rock, R-O-C-K, like a rock. Let me show you. Looks like this. It comes full like this, unprocessed. It just comes out like this, and it's a bit yellow or brown. You can get this, I think you can get it on Amazon or local supermarkets. So Western supermarkets will carry brown sugar sticks, and that's what you can use rather than processed white refined sugar. That's definitely, like, this is my choice, my go-to choice of sugars if I'm cooking for Chinese soups or sweet soups especially. Where do you find? Okay, I love it. Very cold, refreshing. Yeah, so for winter, the other trick about winter is, and especially if you don't like it cold, just add ginger. Add a few slices of ginger to any type of your cooking, and it really helps warm up the body, which is quite an interesting ingredient to use. And you don't need a lot, 2 or 3 slices, so it's not very spicy if you don't like spice, but ginger will help warm up the body naturally. It helps circulate the blood, circulate your qi, create qi, all of that. So yeah, ginger is amazing. All right, so I'm gonna drop this rock sugar in here as well. There we go. And that's essentially it for today's soup. It's super easy. And again, oh no, I did add something. The other thing I forgot to add, I wanted to add is Chinese yam, which I might skip then, I'll save it for a soup. But Chinese yam, for those who have never tried it before, it's very starchy. It comes brown. This is pre-prepared. And so what happens is that Chinese yam actually nourishes your body. It nourishes your blood. It's neutral, so it goes with both soups, sweets, cold, hot, whatever. It fits with everything. This is something I keep all the time. Yes, ginger really helps. If you're feeling fatigued, cold, lethargic, ginger is your go-to ingredient. Just drop it in. You don't taste it. Does the rock sugar melt completely? It does. And you'll hear crackling. It's quite interesting as an ingredient. And so they're big pieces and small pieces. If they're too big, right, what I do is we'll crack it with the back of my butcher's knife and make it smaller. But actually rock sugar's not overly sweet and fantastically clean taste. It doesn't taste processed like white refined sugar does. And so it's definitely my choice of sweetener on top of if I'm using it in soups and desserts. All right. Right, so that's it for today, essentially, in terms of ingredients. And again, the base today is really just yam and ginger and rock sugar. You can add a variety of warming ingredients that fit your body and your taste. And so if you want it more like blood improving, circulating, add your red dates. This is a nice one. And it'll boil and soften. The dried longans I talked about. And then also the other one that's quite interesting is dried tangerine peel, which I will save for another day. And I do add it to soup sometimes. All right, so that's cooking. Any other questions before I close this live? But thank you for joining and asking all those amazing questions about the weather. It is cold now in Toronto. It got cold this morning. And so essentially, just as a spur of the moment, I'm like, I feel like I need something warm today. And so I'm making a yam, ginger, rock sugar soup. And that's what it is. It's a sweet soup. And so thank you. Oh my God, I need a haircut. but thank you. Thoughts on pumpkin spice? Is it like the shaking spice that you use? And would you use it in soups? Is that the question? So in Chinese cooking, we don't actually use that many. I actually don't use a lot of spices, to be honest with you. The Vietnamese do, but in Chinese soups, everything is usually not. We don't use a lot of spices at all. Actually, to be honest with you, maybe the occasional star anise, cinnamon sticks. Cinnamon sticks I will use for teas. That's considered an herb, but the spices actually aren't really herbs. They're just TCM perspective. Okay, so cinnamon is one. So there are categories of herbs that are used in teas, and they do have certain elements or characteristics of them. So cinnamon is one that's very warming as well, and so that's how we pair when we think about matching warm and cool ingredients. So cinnamon is within this warming category, and actually cinnamon would be a great one to add to this if you don't mind that cinnamon flavor as well. So cinnamon's a great one that's warming. And so I think it's just learning about what some of the more natural ingredients in their nature. So it's considered nature. So everything in nature carries like a type of energy or skew, right? And so cinnamon, red dates are warming, right? And so they're more yang based. So when I say warming, it's more yang, Y-A-N-G. That's essentially what it means. And so warming yang is adding more yang to your body. And on the site, like there's a matrix of like, is it yang, too much yang, too little yang, or is it too much yin or too little yin, right? And so that's where the balance is when you're thinking about your own body and where the imbalance is. And at the very end, when we're looking at wellness and wholeness from a traditional medicine perspective, it's actually just being balanced. That's it. There's nothing else to it. Everything else stems right into just being balanced. And so I will use certain spices like that when you talk about. Cinnamon is one. Star anise, not so much. That's really more for maybe like stews. But for Chinese soups and teas, very rare do I use spices. A lot of flowers. Flowers are really good. There's some different types of flowers like chrysanthemum, roses are really good for teas as well. And I have a few on the site, like rose teas. Rose is really warming right now. Rose, ginger, red dates, right? So that's something you can add if you like those flavors as well. All right, that's it for now, guys. Does TCM like hot, spicy sriracha? Okay, so anything spicy is very yang, but not necessarily always in a good way. So sometimes there's too spicy where it's fiery. And so TCM perspective is not spicy, is not something that is necessarily recommended, although it does add flavor, but in small portions, right? And so absolutely you can have it, but it doesn't necessarily support the balance, its flavor. And so from TCM, they don't limit anything necessarily. Well, they do, I'm sorry. The one thing I will state quite firmly is from a traditional perspective is no cold water, no ice, and no cold water, cold drinks. And so this is something that I think, like from a Western perspective, I grew up in Toronto, right? And so for me, and I'm an athlete, and so for me, it was always drinking cold stuff. But as soon as I ventured into this journey, I cut all iced water, iced drinks. Literally, there's no ice in my water. So I saw your comment about you having a craving for super spicy stuff. That's quite interesting. Okay, so there's definitely a balance. So this is the interesting thing too, but when you have cravings too, especially sugar cravings, spicy cravings, there's some imbalance happening in there. And so essentially, Chuck, I'd have to, there's probably a lot of other factors as well that come into it. It's like also how's your pulse doing, skin tone, your tongue, right? And so it's a whole holistic approach when it comes to that. However, to balance off the spicy, if you actually are going to have spicy foods and you love spicy, great, do it. I would suggest offsetting it with something cooling, more yin. And so that it's not cooling. When I say cooling, I don't mean cooling in terms of temperature. I mean cooling in terms of nature. So that would, for example, be chrysanthemum teas are really cooling. Sugar canes are cooling. Corn silk, I'm looking at my corn silk now. So there are cooling ingredients by nature. Like a lot of the melons, watermelon. So if you're gonna have spicy, the one basic thing you could try to offset it with is watermelon. So just consume watermelon to rebalance that. That's probably something really quite simple that you can start. If you love spicy and you can't stop eating spicy, then balance it out, right? From a body perspective, that's actually something really simple that you can do. So for example, if you're doing barbecue, Korean barbecue indoors, barbecue outdoors, hot pots, all of that type of consumption food is actually considered warming as well. And so what you want to do is offset it. That's why there's plum juice, watermelon juice, very quite commonly to offset that heat. Sugarcane, yeah, sugarcane is actually really good too. Sugarcane's really cooling as well, so it's something that you add. Sugarcane, oh, this is the interesting one. Actually, and I have it here, goes with corn silk. And so sugarcane typically is used in teas and used with corn silk and another rhizome. I don't have it here, but there's like these little rhizomes in Hong Kong where actually it's cooling and it helps dispel water from the body, which is amazing. So what about lemon? I'm so into lemon right now. Okay, so lemons are actually cooling as well, which is good, that's fine. Lemons do go with teas if you're gonna do lemon. And again, right, like lemon's great maybe for more summer. Because it is cooling, what you could just think about is, so it's actually not lemon necessarily, it might be the sour taste that's really appealing. And so sour is more cooling as well as in taste, right? And so that's fine too if you love it. What you could do is just blend it with, honey is the usual. You can add red dates to try to offset it. So lemon, red dates. I wouldn't add ginger to it, but something more in the middle. So longan as well might go well with lemons. This is the other ingredient I talked about that you could think about with lemons. It's actually not a bad choice to think about as well. And then no ice. So that is the one thing I will say quite often, and I know it's really hard for people living in the West, and even for my kids growing up, I'm always telling them not to drink ice stuff. And here's the reason why. Even from a scientific perspective of not drinking cold things and ice things is it takes energy to heat up cold foods in your stomach. And so the energy is then being channeled to heat up something in your stomach rather than to help with circulation, to help improve other parts of the body. That's one of the big reasons why it's really not recommended. You'll hear, don't drink ice things, don't eat ice cream or even salads. It's just the use of the energy and your stomach temperature is like, I can't remember what the temperature is, but when you're eating ice, then the energy is being used to heat up the foods rather than digesting. So that's the easy, simple reason why. So you made a ginger whole lemon with cinnamon. Actually, that's not bad. That would work. That would work too. That would work. So the ginger and the cinnamon are gonna be warming, and the lemon's not super overly cooling. It's just maybe for flavor, but that totally works. Ice is also modern creation. It makes sense. Yeah, the ice. Yeah, you're right. Ice is completely fine. Ice cream, even salads. Honestly, from a TCM perspective, salads not that great. But I know we do eat it. If you really must have something that's a bit cooler, room temperature, try, right? Or at least if you want to shift your lifestyle changes to go from really cold, like let's say you really love ice drinks, like they have to be cold, then what you do is like remove the ice, remove less ice, maybe drink it warmer, and the warmer that you can drink it, the easier it is on your digestive system at the very end because you're not stressing it to heat up the food. Yeah, and I know it's hard to give up salads, I agree. But maybe have the salads and not right away in the fridge. What you do is take out the salad, let it warm up a little bit in room temperature, and then have it like that, right? That's something to consider. Or the salad dressing, to have it, consume it not warm. That's also another choice to think about. So I'm not saying you make drastic changes in your lifestyle at all. Like that's not the whole point. It's really just to consider, oh, here's the little things that I can try to build into habits for a lifestyle that's easier on my body. And so those are just some ways that I've tried to adapt. And so first thing as well, I'll wake up and have a cup of like hot water right there. That's my hot water dispenser. And so the first thing I do when I wake up is just have a cup of hot water. What it is kick awake the digestive system and really just get all the body parts up again, right? Because your body when you're sleeping is in a yin state. So yin is really the more calming, sleeping, chilled state. And so what you want to do is gently just bring that up and like boot everything up online, including the brain, which is quite interesting in that like a lot of times when we wake, we just jump out of bed and we're like, we gotta go, right? And so, but essentially, like for the healthy piece, is really just slowly getting the body up. So hot water first thing in the morning is really going to help bring that up. So do I do yoga? You're in incredible shape. Is there TCM? So actually I don't do yoga, although I should. So yoga as an activity is very yin. I'm actually very yang. So yang is more masculine in that I actually do cycling, running, things that are really high intensity. I'm slowing that down. That's where you need that balance. So in TCM, it's really a balance, right? At the end, it's balancing everything, balancing your food, balancing your lifestyle, balancing what you're doing with your body. And so yoga helps, yes, but also other things, just having everything in balance. Is it good to drink apple cider vinegar with water? Yeah, you could. I mean, that's more Western from a perspective on apple cider vinegar. The one thing that I do know that apple cider vinegar is really good for is also when you have like gout, right? And that's because that'll dispel the additional acid that's built up. But from a TCM perspective, actually, we don't really drink apple cider vinegar. I'm sorry. It feels like it's more like a Western thing. However, if you love it, like it, you can add a little bit into, or like, why not use fresh apples? And I know maybe the easy way is just to pour and mix, but one suggestion is to think about like, make it fresh, right? And so some of the teas that I do make are with fresh apples. And it could just be as simple as someone was saying bits of lemon, fine. Apples with lemon. What else would add to this? A cinnamon stick, yes. And boil it yourself. And I know it takes work, but boil a big batch, leave it in the fridge. And when you want to drink it, just bring it out and reheat it slowly. So again, I don't suggest drinking stuff out of the fridge or with ice. But what you could do is just take it out of the fridge, let it heat up, or use a microwave and drink it like that. And so that's just a suggestion. My daughter gets so much heartburn after eating immediately. Okay, so a few things with heartburn. So the idea is that it's coming back. So the idea is food actually is supposed to travel down. Okay, right? Because it goes from here down to here. That's the whole concept of how food flows. And so when we have like heartburn, it's coming back up, right? Or if we have reflux, it's coming back up, right? And so there's something in the digestive system that's not balanced. And so the natural flow, so those are great symptoms of like how the body's not flowing as the way it should be, which is the food flows down, right? And that's how it kind of works from a body perspective. And so I can't really say what's wrong because there's actually a whole other factors, right? It's also like pulse, her tongue, how are other things combined together. So to be honest with you, from a TCM perspective and from acupuncture, like when we do that type of work, it's not one symptom. It's a balance. It's a whole plethora of everything that's happening with you. And everyone is unique. And so I think that's where it's quite interesting just to understand that, like, oh, wow. But start with like basics, right? Maybe drinking warm liquids to help. Eating slower is also another one where the digestive system's not able to catch up. And so that is one thing that I do suggest is like just slowing down. And I think sometimes like in our lives now everything's too fast, too busy, we need to get this done, that done, right? And so it's just being intentional about slowing down your life. And so it's not only foods, there's a whole lifestyle piece behind it as well. So, all right, any other questions around what I'm making today, what's going on? I'm making a warming soup. I will post the full thing. It's actually super simple. I think I've posted it before. It's a Chinese yam with ginger, perfect for cold weather. And this morning was 10 degrees, so it was pretty cold, even though it's still September, like early September, but it was cold today. So for those who are feeling cold all the time and you want just a little bit of warmth, add ginger. So ginger into your soups, into your teas, a few slices, and that's just very something simple that you can try to help warm your body. All right, that's it. I will go live again. Always a treat when I watch you. Thank you so much, guys. Join anytime, and I will post this full thing on the YouTube, just in case you want. Where can I purchase yam? So yam has a few names. Yam is also considered sweet potato. That's the other variant that you can use. And so yam you can actually get at any supermarket. There's little yams. The one I used today is quite large. It's an orange yam. There's actually white skinned yams, purple skinned yams as well. And so you can get that at the supermarket. In most Western supermarkets, Yams, sweet potato, or the name in the Western could be sweet potato as well, is where you would get it. And so you can get yams at any supermarket. Hope that helps. And it is similar to like, it's literally a sweet potato. And very common. So the one thing that I do like for people who follow me is I use ingredients that are really quite common. Things that you can find in supermarkets. They're not crazy. None of the pharmaceutical TCM herbs at all. Even though there's some like Cottonopsis root that you can find at Asian supermarkets, that's a little more like even already further extreme. Like for people probably in the middle of just trying to integrate more natural ingredients into their food. But for me, most of the stuff, the YouTube channel is just the Chinese Soup Lady. It's the same. Chinese Soup Lady, I think. And so anyway, so it's essentially just getting any ingredients that you can find at normal supermarkets, and the more advanced ones are definitely Asian supermarkets. But I have found some products on Amazon, which I've tried, and they work, and so that's cool. All right, thanks everyone for joining. I will post the full soup at the very end when I get it. Actually, it's almost probably ready to eat, given that we've been chatting for so long. And so this is a quick boil. So quick boil I will do in a ceramic stovetop. I'm not using the thermal pot today, for those who are wondering. All right, if you have any questions, actually just leave it in any of my channels. I actually do respond to all the questions, especially about ingredients, about how to make something, anything around making soups, the ingredients, the herbs, prep, I will answer. And then I consolidate everything into the community, which is a forum. Okay, all right, thanks everybody. Have a great Saturday and stay warm out there. Remember, don't drink cold stuff, but if you must, drink less cold stuff if you can. And it's just something to really try and shift some of that lifestyle. And I know, you know, being in the West, especially in the summer, it's really hard, but we all try. All right, bye everyone. Oh, see, I have issues trying to stop this thing.